Look. I'm on tour right now.
It's the New OGs. The New OGs is a State Madison Entertainment production and is brought to you by Sun Life Solar. Sun Life is helping homeowners in Illinois take advantage of a program that lets them get solar power at no cost. If you are a single-family homeowner in the state of Illinois, you can lower your electric bill, raise the value of your home, and do something good for the environment without paying a single dollar out of your pocket to do so. In fact, Sun Life can only work with you if they can save you money, which is a pretty good deal. You spend no money out of pocket and you save money. Seems like a good idea to me. Sun Life is a SunPower dealer. That's an American panel maker with over 30 years of solar experience. And Sun Life even has a referral program that would pay you as much as $500 per referral. So you can get solar panels at no cost. You can save money by getting the solar panels, and you can get $500 if you tell somebody else and they get solar panels, which is also a pretty good deal. So head over to www.illinoissolar.today and get in contact for a free consultation or to refer someone you know. We are also brought to you by People of Comedy.
Hey!
That is our man on the board, James Webb, right there.
It's
he
me.
is broken from the annual Chicago Comedy softball game to come and produce this for us today. So we thank him for that eternally. Go to People of Comedy on Facebook. See all the great shows offered there. Check in daily. They've got a bunch of fresh podcasts going on right now. They have been out at the protest. Danny Limes has been out there tracking everything going on. It's been amazing. So make sure you get in with that. XL, my man.
Hey, don't forget my man Murphy Jr. What's his first name?
Dwayne Murphy Jr.
Dwayne.
Dan Lime.
That's Danny Limes, baby. That's Danny Limes.
We're trying to get a Don Lemon's DMs.
You say what?
We're trying to get a Don Lemon's DMs. Tell Don Lemon about Danny Lime. Let him get some prime time, baby.
That's right. Oh, yeah, I forgot about the. Yeah, that's right. My bad.
The cold ass alter ego of Danny Lime, man. It's
AKA
a
Young
deal.
Citrus, giving you that news. Fresh squeeze, baby.
Fresh squeeze news from Danny Lime. Yo, what's up, man?
Hey, Bobby, can I tell you about a special thing that the New OGs is offering that I just made up?
Yeah, what's the special thing that the New OGs is offering that you just made up?
You can get a shout out. You can get a live shout out on the show if you like and subscribe to our podcast on a podcast network, wherever you get your podcasts at, and you like our page. You do both of those things. You send us a message showing us that you did it. We will shoot you a shout out until it gets absurd and we can't do it anymore.
Whoa.
That's a pretty good deal. And until the whole, we may just have to do a shout out episode at some point where we just talk about friends who signed up.
Who's going to see this shout out? We international, baby. We got people. Shout out to Senegal. Shout out to Algeria. Shout out to Morocco. Shout out to all parts of the continent of Africa, baby. Y'all out there watching us, we appreciate you.
We actually have gotten a tremendous fan base in Africa. I like that. I'm a very big fan of that being the situation.
Yeah, I believe we had like 2,000 views in Algeria.
I mean, maybe we were helping start a revolution somewhere.
That's what's up, baby. That's what's up. They know how to have a revolution, baby. They down with us, man. They probably ready to send us some tips. Send us your revolutionary tips to the New OGs.
Hit us up at New OGs Pod on Twitter or IG. Just hit us up with a direct message.
If you are on the continent of Africa and you have just been waiting for black people to take this motherfucker over, and you said, I got a plan. I got a plan if somebody would just ask me. Send that motherfucker to New OGs. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying I'm going to promote the overthrow of my own government, but we might give you a shout out. You never know.
At least do it for the shout out. You know, bare minimum, send us your tips on how to overthrow a government, and we'll throw you a shout out for sure. We have no problem doing that.
Overthrow any government. It doesn't have to be our government. Just any government.
Give me your template for how you got your shit. You know what I mean? Just give me, just be like, oh, well, we did this, this, and this, and all of a sudden we were running things. And I'll be like, all right, cool. Well, we'll give you a shout out for sure. Can't guarantee any of the rest of it's going to happen, but I'm not going to not disseminate this either, you know?
Hey, man, everything starts with an idea. You know what I'm saying? Everything starts with an idea. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, little known fact, the American Revolution started in a pub owned by a cat named Sam Adams. Real talk. Like, they were having conversations, and somebody had a good idea. It's like, you know what we should do? We should fuck up their tea. And then that's how the whole shit jumped off.
which exactly sounds like some shit some drunk white boys would decide to do. Oh, you know to really fuck with them? Let's fuck with their tea.
Hey, real talk.
Yeah.
White people get upset when you fuck with their leisure shit.
Yeah. Oh, the leisure shit is the problem.
Like, if coronavirus made it impossible to golf all summer, them motherfuckers be on the front line right away.
Absolutely.
If coronavirus fucked with mayonnaise and you couldn't make casserole, this whole motherfucker would be shut down.
It'd be over by now. If
you couldn't make hot dish? If you couldn't make hot dish because of coronavirus? Man, Marge and them would turn this motherfucker out.
Right? It'd be over. What's your week like, man? How you been doing?
You know what, man? I've been groovy, dude. I chilled this week. I did a lot of writing. I'm gonna send you some pages for you to review. I think you're gonna laugh a lot. And that was actually the majority of my week. I did a lot of writing. Did some stuff for our projects and shit like that, as far as getting awareness about us out and stuff like that. But that was the progress of the week, man. I finally invested in some writing software that I should have invested in like 2-3 years ago, and I'm putting it to use. Because once I put my money into it, I gotta fucking do it.
Nice. That's excellent. Yeah, I had
That's why I've been bugging you. That's why I've been bugging you at 6 o'clock in the morning, asking you about ads and shit. Because once I put some money into it, oh shit, it's my money. We better do this
now?
shit.
We investing? Well, let's make sure we getting it right. No, I understand that. Well, that's why we now have fans in Senegal and places like that. So that's why we're, we're putting in the money in to find the places that we want to have the support from, which is usually
that's what's up. That's what's up.
That's what's going on. So.
I think it's weird that I had to specifically ask for the continent of Africa Facebook. That's weird that y'all didn't just automatically make that option and shit. I just want to point that out. Like, why the fuck did y'all not give me a worldwide audience out the gate? I got to ask for the world to see me?
Yeah,
weird.
Absolutely.
Weird.
Yeah, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, man. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's weird. I'm definitely getting older. I learned. I was telling James before we started the show. I learned so much about my body just from looking up shit when I hurt myself. I've become so knowledgeable on things. Like, I know what a pes anzarine is now. I know what a gracilis muscle is.
Tell the world what a pes anzarine is, because I don't know what that is.
So on the inner part of your leg, above the from the thigh down, there's a place where like 3 muscles go, and then below your knee they attach to the bottom, to like your shin bone. And if you have just started running after never being a runner, even if you're using like a decent program, like a Couch to 5K program, the reality is like you will still fuck that shit up sometimes. And mine has been sore. Mine has been sore for like a week and a half now. So
what can you do to resolve the soreness? Other than not run.
Just not sit on my ass.
So this is like one of those plantar fasciitis type situations.
Yeah, like I can stretch it. You know what I mean? You stretch it. It's basically it deals with flexing the knee. So like, try to stay off going up and down stairs, trying to elevate it, trying to go through stretches for it, try not to rile it up too much. But it's just, I've never been a runner, and I've just been in this mode where, like I said, I feel like I might need to outrun some motherfuckers at some point here. So I'm trying to pick my game up. And so I started this program, and just my legs are just like, nah, maybe you should try something a little bit lighter, buddy. You need to lift weights, Negro. Just lift weights is what my body said.
Bobby, I have been somewhat, even though I am a fan of the product myself, I have been against it because I kind of feel like it promotes something that necessarily I don't want to promote. However, I agree with you about the working out, but my working out is more along with this finger and my highlight is you talking about revolution, man. I ain't just talking about running motherfuckers out. Like, it might be some motherfuckers that I know out the gate I ain't gonna outrun. I mean, it might be some.
Well, yeah, sure. Yeah, that's a part of training as well. That's just a different part of it.
Look, I'm gonna be real with you. I'm gonna be real with you. There's nothing I could do if I got Michael Jordan's trainer to start working with me right now, 24/7. right? And say we had 2 years. They say it didn't really jump off until 2022, and I worked out every day.
Right.
I am not fucking with the white people who live around me who ride bikes like they think they're gonna be the next motherfucking what's that motherfucker with the cancer and the no nuts?
Oh, Lance Armstrong. He's got one.
Yeah.
He's got one.
There's like hundreds of Lance Armstrong wannabes around me. I'm not outrunning them motherfuckers. Like, the niggas just waiting for the day to get to chase a nigga. So, yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta set a decent pace, you know.
I'm gonna have to exercise being able to shoot some kneecaps and shit.
I understand that too. I get that philosophy too. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. It's allowed me to sit on my ass and have to look up some other shit. I sat in on a great business call for minority-owned businesses and how to obtain and how to make sure that you're staying afloat during this time and keeping things running and things like that. So that has opened the door to some things that will definitely help us in a lot of different projects that I've got going on. As some people know, a lot
that we do is you all still there?
I'm still here. I can still hear you.
Cool. A lot of the
silent
stuff
for
we
a
do
second.
is like bootstrapped, right? So like we raise our own money for all these projects that we're doing. You know, we do all this stuff ourselves. We organize everything we've got to put together. We come up with all of our own money, and so that's a thing that, like, you know, we all have to fight and do it. And so I've been working to try and make sure that happens, and fortunately some of that stuff is starting to come together. But sitting on my ass has allowed me to go and chase some of that down and get some of that background. It's been pretty cool. So
yeah, I mean,
that's what I spent my week doing.
You know, I had a conversation on Twitter at the very beginning of the pandemic because, you know, I was telling you at the beginning that I thought there was going to be opportunity to get money for small businesses and stuff, but they were going to have to do it to flood the market. And
Right.
I remember having a debate with a woman online. I really wasn't trying to argue with her. I just was trying to give her an upside and saying people are telling this an opportunity. You got a chance to grow your business and do stuff if you're smart. It's like people are dying. It's a pandemic. I was like, I respect people are dying. I'm not trying to minimize the loss of life and the tragedy and the trauma that has to do with that. But even in the midst of whatever's going on, whenever there's tragedy or trauma, there's always opportunity. And
Right.
if you are able to somehow make it through the drama and the trauma and the pain, and also most of the great businesses in America, somewhere, somehow, there's like a horrible event. Now, maybe not quite like this, but there's some kind of event that gave them either their launch or the thing that took them from being a regular small business to the next level. There's something that their competitors didn't do well enough or didn't take advantage of, and they did. I wouldn't say most consumer business, but quite a few of the Fortune 500 businesses have stories like that. There's books written about it.
Yeah, and you know, it's really just when you're in a position
Failing
where
forward.
when you're in a position where you have to really create a lot of the initial capital yourself. Like, I don't come from money. I don't have anybody who's showing up with a bag of money for me to get me. No one's launching me. You know what I mean? No one launches a lot of. You know, there's some people that you'll see who are famous in entertainment or in other areas that had help or had somebody who helped bully them, and that's great. That's fine. But like for a lot of us, we are doing this. We are doing this all on our own. You know, we're doing this on our own dime to get there. You know what I mean? So for a lot of us, it's that own chase. So trying to find, and a lot of us have to be self-taught because we're chasing this. We're trying to learn the business side outside of whatever else we may have already trained for. And
hey,
so,
man, tell people, I know this is not our thing, but I just, as a person who's owned a business and my business partner, I just always like to share with people, it's amazing, even as a person who's owned a business in the past, how many times there's things that you learn when you try to do a business where you like, it makes sense when you learn it, like, oh, of course this is what it is. But no one ever told you that. And nobody ever shared it with you, knowing that there wasn't anything that was an easy way to learn it. You had to learn it through experience or learn it through actually getting the deal or whatever. And it's an interesting time right now with all everything being in flux like it is.
Yeah, speaking of some interesting times, Ghislaine Maxwell has finally been arrested. If you're listening and you don't know who Ghislaine Maxwell is, whoo boy. You know, it's weird. You see somebody like Ghislaine Maxwell who is being charged essentially with helping Jeffrey Epstein procure, you know, girls essentially for trafficking. I mean, there's not really any other way to. There's no delicate way to put it. They were convincing women who were under the age of 18, girls, to stay, live, party, be with them. You know, a lot of stories of all types of sexual assault. To keep it in the most simplest, non-triggering terms that I can keep it. And she participated in this process, and they finally caught her in New Hampshire. Finally
caught her. I mean, they knew she was in New Hampshire the whole time. She was there just chilling, being rich. But
right, yeah. They were putting their investigation together essentially. She was just living there, being a rich person, while they put an investigation together to finally go, okay, we've got you figured out now. We're gonna come get you.
I wonder if they straight up told her if she tries to leave, they'll arrest her, because she's an heiress. Yeah. And it makes no sense that she stayed.
Yeah, I bet there's no way she was going to leave the country.
Yeah.
I bet there was no way. There's no way.
There's probably somebody sitting on her the whole time.
There's probably no way. They would have had a Carlos going her out of there. That cat from Nissan who they smuggled out in the case.
Yeah. They smuggled him out of prison.
They caught the guys who smuggled him out. It was a dude and his son. They were Americans.
Oh, wow.
They were like ex-CIA agents. There are legit mercenaries out there who you can call up, and if you got to be like, I got to get smuggled out of whatever, if you got the Lucci, somebody will show up with a plan to fly you out of there in a box.
That's that privilege shit again, Bobby.
Of course it is. I'm not denying that at all.
I used to be GD. Larry Hoover had $1 million reward if you got him out of prison. Had I known that there were CIA agents that I called that could have smuggled Larry Hoover out of prison, I'd be a millionaire right now, Bobby. That's privilege right there. White people know about that shit. I didn't know about that shit growing up. I just found out today.
Yeah, you were today years old and you found out you could have did it for enough money. You could have gotten smuggled out.
I could have smuggled Larry Hoover out of prison.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you just gotta.
If you don't know who Larry Hoover is, Google, motherfucker.
That shows you how like if you want to talk about where the road of like the privilege part ends, or where the government wants to stop the corruption part, is that El Chapo's broken out of prison like, I don't know, 27,000 times, and Larry Hoover can break out of prison for shit, right? Like that. If you want to know who they're concerned about catching at what stage of the process and where, right? The guy who can just go, who doesn't want to be in the U.S., who wants to push his drugs here, but doesn't actually want to be here and do the work, they'll let him escape and go back. But the cat here, they'll hold this man down.
The guy here with an army. The guy here with a small army here.
The guy at the end of the chain though, they want to keep in jail. He's not the guy getting it over here. He's just, I mean, the shit's still going to be here even after you put that guy away. So what was the fucking point, right?
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, anyway, I think the Army scared them about him and Jeff Ford. I think the fact that they looked at him the same way you look at Malcolm X. Malcolm X was a hustler too at one point, and then he saw the light. What if Larry Hoover, which they both did in jail, what if Larry Hoover and Jeff Ford see the light and decide to turn all those soldiers into soldiers for righteousness, marches.
Right, exactly.
You know, protect the neighborhood from motherfuckers lynching us.
So they got Ghislaine Maxwell. The office that got her, the attorney's office that got her, was the Southern District of New York, the U.S. Attorney at the Southern District of New York. If you're not,
hey Bobby, why is the Southern District of New York? Why does that sound so familiar?
It sounds familiar because literally 2 Fridays ago. Was it 2 Fridays ago? No, it was last Friday. Was it 2 Fridays ago?
Was it last Friday?
Yeah. I think it was last Friday. That's how crazy this was. Let's just, for the sake of argument, say it was even 2 Fridays ago, just because I don't feel like looking it up right now. That Friday, late night, which is a weird time to fire a U.S. district attorney in the Southern District of New York, that guy was fired by a confusing act between Bill Barr, the Attorney General, and Donald Trump, who they could never really figure out who was behind that, right? And they were going to replace him.
They tried to say he resigned and offered him another position, and then he said, "Suck my dick, I'm staying."
Yeah, he was like, I didn't resign. I didn't resign anything. They wanted to replace him with one of their own guys. Instead of the person who was supposed to take over, which was the assistant to the U.S. District Attorney, And I obviously I think this had something to do with it because they weren't able to replace him with the person that they wanted. This case then moved forward, and now they have Ghislaine Maxwell, which I think is a big deal. There's obviously the joke of the last year has been about Jeffrey Epstein's suicide and whether it was legit or not. And I mean, it's really going to be put to the test now because it's open for her to flip. She could easily turn states.
Hey,
or federal.
I saw someone call all jokes about her suicide or whatever hack, and there was enough people making those jokes that I might agree, except for Dwayne motherfucking Kennedy had the shut her down joke of all of them where he just said Ghislaine Maxwell's unexpected suicide is scheduled for 2:30 a.m. Wednesday, July 8th.
That's about right. That seems reasonable.
That's the perfect actual way. That's the perfect pitch. That's 100% the perfect pitch on that joke.
Yeah. And so, I would love to see her turn and like be able to lay it all out there, but what are the odds that you think that's going to happen?
Here's the thing. She is like gazillion. She's rich. Like Jeffrey Epstein was very well off. She is an heiress.
I believe the quote. There's a quote that is she's being held without bail because she has quote unlimited resources. I think is what they're saying.
Yeah, whatever number they come up with, he could possibly provide them with.
Yeah.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine being anywhere in your life, XL, where they're like, "Well, we're going to arrest you for essentially like a version of like kidnapping, raping, and trafficking girls who are not 18, and we're just going to let you chill and not even give you bail because we know it's ridiculous." Imagine, do you think that would be like, here's why this is fucked here, okay? Here's why the whole thing here is fucked. It's because there's no way on the planet Earth, if you man, the guy I'm talking to, not a magical version, if you started banging out a whole trafficking ring that was at that level, there is no fucking way that you get no bail. And I don't mean no bail as in like not released. I mean there's no way that they go, whatever, man, we're not even going to try and give you a bail. There's no fucking way. You would never even get to the station, dude. That many white women?
Bobby.
No way.
My girl white. If I raise my voice at her, I'm not getting bail.
Exactly.
Like she would never do this, but she has the trump card of we out in public. If she ever said, "Oh God, no," I'm done.
That is actually the trump card, right? The Trump card is like no, it's the trump card, right? The trump card is in this modern era. It has become.
It'll be a MAGA motherfucker that comes to get me.
Like what a trump card is from now on is a white person having the power to get a black man hurt in this country through racism. That is the trump card. From now on, if someone says you're playing,
somebody Urban Dictionary that shit for us real quick.
If someone says you're playing the trump card, you know what I mean? That means that they're saying that you're a white person using race to get a black person in trouble. In a situation
I think Trump is going to be. I was saying, dude, this is fucked up because I was saying this shit before coronavirus that Trumping is going to be like a word that replaces doing political crime or a politician doing crime. Like there were 3 senators investigated for Trumping in Washington this weekend.
There's definitely gonna be Trump level shit going on. Right?
Alleged Trumping charges against Kentucky Senator blah blah blah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. For sure, 100%, man.
What's the shit with gangsters that it begins with the R? They're like when they investigate the mob and they connect everybody if you had any association with them, even if you weren't a mob member.
RICO charges?
RICO. Yeah, RICO charges are like literally like everything. That's what it's gonna be. It's gonna be Trump. There's gonna be the Trump legislation. People are gonna get charged with trumping.
It's gonna be how they get access to look at certain records and shit that you tried to conceal. They're gonna use the Trump legislation to make that happen.
Yes.
I think that's a great. We need to save all that for later. In the meantime, while even all that stuff is going on, we are facing an insane explosion of coronavirus all over the place. You know, it's been pretty wild with everything going on. Cases are up over 50,000 a day now, 50,000 new cases. I think that's what the latest totals were.
It was 58,000. It was 58,000 last night. So
yeah,
that means it's probably going to be over 60,000 tonight because of the exponential growth we've been seeing.
I had posted a couple, like maybe a week ago, about how there was. Hey, Eric Edmonds is with us. We have Eric Edmonds joining us on the line to come and talk about some of this stuff. We just started talking about all the coronavirus stuff, and I wanted to bring you in on it. For those of you that don't know, Eric is a comedian who lived in Chicago for, I don't know how long. Did you start in Chicago, Eric?
Actually started in Dallas, Texas.
Okay, started in Dallas, Texas.
And then moved back to Chicago in 2012.
Okay.
And yeah.
And now where are you joining us from today?
Glasgow, Scotland, which
Glasgow,
is not
Scotland.
contrary to popular belief, it's not Ireland. It's not the same place at all. It's two separate places. They're two totally different places. So yeah.
When you say
totally
they're two different places, do you mean that they're not the same?
Totally different. There's Irish people and there's Scottish people, and I remember I moved here because my wife is Scottish, and when she lived when we lived in America, they would say, "Oh, where's your accent from?" She's like, "Scotland." And she's like, "Well, I was thinking Ireland." "Oh, same place." It's not.
They're not the same,
Wow.
right? The people are not the same. The cultures are not the same. There's differences. Yeah, that is a very American thing that we just kind of lump that whole island into just being like, well, it's just you know, some of those guys are mad at some of those other guys, but they're pretty much the same guys, right? Those are all the same.
But it's
it's
two different islands.
To be honest with you, I am guilty of that too. Before I messaged you last week, I was like, it's not Ireland. In my head, I just kept thinking, he doesn't live in Ireland, it's Scotland. Not that he lives in Scotland, I just kept remembering it wasn't Ireland.
Right.
I
could do so if this oven mitt was the UK, down here is England, okay, and then like up here this would be Scotland. Ireland would be this little teacup across the Irish Sea, over here or something like that. And this is not to scale, but you get basically teacup Ireland, oven mitt UK.
Right.
But thanks for having me. Yeah.
But well, we are glad that you're joining us.
I think the lad has picked a side, man.
What's that?
I said I think the lad has picked a side.
Hold on, I lost sound for a second. The worst part of calling you.
Hey, Eric, one of the reasons why I messaged you last week and wanted to have you on the show was because I remember talking to you right after you moved there, and you got some amazing news about what is it Prime Minister? What's the person who gives the State of Scotland address?
She's the First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon. So she is the head of the Scottish National Party.
Yeah, and just I'm gonna let you go ahead and tell me what that person said, and let you talk about it for a second, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course. So basically, it's called the Best Start Initiative, Best Start Grant, and what happens here in Scotland isn't necessarily what's happening in England or Northern Ireland or Wales, the other devolved nations that make up the United Kingdom. Basically, the idea is that when a child is born, no matter the economic sort of status of their parents, where they come from, where their parents are from, what sort of nationality they have, the idea is that every child starts off in Scotland on the same page, right? So we can talk about it at birth, right? Number one, we have this thing here called Medicare for all. You guys are arguing about it over there. So, right? National insurance here, right? Everyone gets access to care. Some people would argue that it's not the best care, but it's care, and people get taken care of when they're sick. Babies are born, right?
And if you have more means, do you have access to get quote unquote better care if you want to?
Yes, so you can opt in for private health care if you want, but for example, my wife's company that she works for, they offer her a private health care scheme. She doesn't take them up on it because everything in the NHS is fine. Right. So when the baby's,
I just want to clarify because we got a lot of Americans listening and they don't think systems like this can work. You're saying that they offer private or they offer public health care to everyone, but there's still options and companies still offer private care that people have an option to choose between.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So you can either pay for it or not, but still break your leg. You know, Bobby, I was listening before I heard, why are you running? That's weird. But like with your muscle strain, you could go to the doctor and get it looked at, right? So there's the National Health Service. So when the baby is born, right before the baby is born, when you go to the midwife appointments and stuff, you give them your address, and about 10 days before your due date, this giant box comes. And within this box, it's a baby box. I think Sweden does it. A lot of some of those like Nordic countries do it. But within this box is a cot so the baby can sleep. And they're the idea that like every child has a place to sleep right away, right? And then it's filled with like onesies and toys and little baby books and some wipes and a small pack of diapers and thermometers and a room thermometer and condoms so it doesn't happen again, which I thought was really weird. So you get all of that from the start, right? And it's just, and it doesn't matter, like you could be making 125,000 quid a year, right? To get the same box if you just was granted asylum from, say, Syria or Sudan or, any one of those places, right? So there's that. Then there's just like, they give you money every month for having kids, right? So I think we get like £150 a month that's just sent to our bank account up until the kid's 16. Now I'm pretty sure that caps at about like 50,000, like a joint income of like 50 to 70,000. So there's that. And then when they start growing up, things like the government subsidizes daycare when the child is 3 years old, right? And there's levels to that. So when we moved here, our daughter was 4. So we wanted to get her into daycare, right? And so we met with the daycare and they said, well, actually, we're going to subsidize it a little bit more because your daughter falls into this high risk category of being essentially an immigrant, right? So from 3 to 5, the kid, and my wife was telling me about it before, it's more about hours, less than money. So it's like 120 hours per term, right? But here's what I was telling Excel about, which was amazing, because he was like, well, I bet the paperwork on that was nuts. It's not, we don't fill it out. It's all done by the city council and the daycare, right? So nothing happens on our side. So we don't have to get caught up in like red tape or missing a line or missing a signature. And then when they get to school, every single kid gets an allowance for uniforms. The idea that so regardless if they go to public school or a private school, a non-religious school or a Catholic school, all the kids wear uniforms. And the idea is that everyone's on the same playing field, right? So like I got bullied a lot because my mom wouldn't get me Jordans, but she would go to Payless Shoes and get those cheap, really, really cheap ones. And I would just get made fun of in 4th grade in Delafield, Wisconsin all the time for like having cheap shoes, right? Or like wearing like off-brand clothing. Here, they're all wearing the same thing, so they're all on an even keel. Not only that, all the kids get their lunch provided up until P4, which I think is like 3rd grade. It's either 3rd or 5th grade. We kind of skip a year. So that's basically it. And that's when it's like, when people ask me, are you wanting to move back to the States? I don't. I really, really, really don't. Because,
oh my God.
Because as a parent, like I'm giving, there's I'm giving my kids a way better starting off point and a better life here than in the States. And it sucks
Sure.
that I have to say that as like an American, not only being an American, but being a first generation American, where my parents moved from Poland to escape, you know, Soviet communism era rule post-war. Their families moved to the States for a better life. I moved out of the States for a better life, which is
Right.
Wow.
kind of odd to say, right?
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
an American-
and
that's an American story that needs to be told, though, because it's insane. Because you had a pretty nice job here. I mean, you were not in a high level. I don't want to give anybody the impression like you were making top media money, but you had a media profession here, and you had some other stuff going on. You had a good background here, and you still have a better life in another country. That's something people need to know, because
Now-
a lot of people who say America is the greatest place in the world have no idea what any other country's like. They have no concept.
they've never
whatsoever.
left.
So
Yeah.
let me ask this: are the people in Scotland that are opposed? I mean, I'm sure there are people in Scotland who are like, we need to have more privatized systems. Is there much of an argument put up against what's going on? Do the single people oppose the idea that their tax dollars go to funding stuff that isn't for them personally? I mean, is that ever a pushback
I
that
personally,
happens?
I mean, maybe down like maybe in England that's the case, but like Scotland is such a different place where like I always joke about like look at what these evil fucking socialists have done this time, right? which I forget, which I totally forget, right? So and here's a really important part. Schools closed in March in Scotland, right? About the time I think that schools were closed, and you know, the shit hit the fan in the States and in the UK at pretty much the same time, right? So one of the big concerns was like, well, what about the kids with their lunches? So here is what these evil socialists did, guys. They sent a gift card to a place that's called Farmland Foods. It's like Aldi, but like maybe like a step below, like step down from Aldi. Because over here, Aldi's like actually like a really nice store.
They
And
became nice
it
over
came
here,
loaded.
man. I don't know
They've
the
gotten
last
nicer
time
here.
you went to one here, but they're kind of nicer here now.
They've gotten nicer.
The last
They're closer to
the
Trader
last
Joe's
one
than they used to be.
the last one I went to was in my old neighborhood in Chicago, which was right on the border of like Hermosa, Belmont Cragen, and Avondale. So it was on Pulaski and there's a Ross Dress for us. Yeah, right.
All grocery stores in the city limits of Chicago, except for maybe Mariano's.
There's that one Aldi that's right on Clyburn near Buffalo Wild Wings. That's like the yuppie Aldi. That Aldi.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Going on. That's
They keep it tight there?
It was right by Trader
Yeah,
Joe's.
it's super
Yeah.
tight
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, well, Trader Joe's owns Aldi, right? That's the same company. So
Yeah,
they have a-
Well, I think they're brothers.
Aldi, yeah.
yeah. Who,
I
Joe
think
and
they're two
Aldi?
brothers who own two separate companies, but it's one large company. Does that make sense?
That's possible.
Company.
Maybe.
There's a parent
Aldi's owned by the
company,
German.
but they're run by two separate brothers, is what I believe the
Right.
story is. It's, somebody could Wikipedia and tell me that online. I'm not going to read it until tomorrow, but
So,
at least we'll know.
Right.
So Ed, let me ask you, obviously with all the COVID stuff going on, how has the shutdown been going over there? What has the effect been? I mean, obviously over here we're at 50,000 cases a day. We're just popping off right now. We got a big population, but you know, like a week ago I was like, wow, we've had 59,000 cases in 5 states in 72 hours, and then 4 days later it was 72,000 cases in those same states in 72 hours, and then it was like 80,000 cases in those 5 states in 72 hours. So like, how has it been there in regards to how the response went, what happened, how did people treat some of the, things that had to be done?
So I think today, so in Scotland, there was 1 death over the last 24 hours. Now, Scotland is a population of about 6 million people from coast to coast, top to bottom. So that's slightly under the size of Arizona, maybe population size about Arkansas, right? But if you look at and I think it was maybe like a tweet Excel put out, it was EU, 440 million. 3,000 new cases. Arizona, 7 million, 4,442 cases, right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it here. In Scotland, there's less than 25 people in the ICU. I think there's maybe like 100 new cases. So it's definitely like, but here's the thing is like people took it seriously right away when it was happening. And I think it just comes down from the leadership at the top, right? And you can argue that maybe Boris Johnson didn't do the best job acknowledging it at first, but here in Scotland, Nicola, they weren't messing around. They noticed it right away, and I mean, lockdown was tight, and it's still pretty tight. Today was the first day that kids could go hug their grandparents because kids under 11, the social distance rule was broke. Okay.
Wow.
So
nobody was out protesting at the. Was anybody out protesting at the ministry, or was anybody?
No,
There's
not at all.
Facebook groups where people are getting together to talk about the 5G towers that are going to come and give you the virus.
Well, so yeah, I mean, of course, there's that, but like that bark is so tiny compared to like reasoning and actual common sense and just looking out for each other. And I think there's just because you know everyone has access to the same healthcare here. And I say it as we because like I'm not moving back. I really like it here. So it's we. They like really like we know what the healthcare system can take, right? So it's not necessarily about I'm healthy, I can get past it. It's about, well, the guy that lives down below me is a ER doc, right? I don't want to make his life any tough. My mother-in-law has heart issues. My sister-in-law has asthma. I'm going to take these things here, and I'm going to take it seriously, not to jeopardize them. And I think it all goes back to the war, you know, World War II, right, where that just absolutely destroyed Europe, destroyed England. And so I would read tweets like, listen, our grandpas like fought in a war for 4 years. The people who didn't go to the war had rations where like this orange would have to last for 4 people for 2 days, right? We can handle 6 weeks inside. So that's kind of where it is now. So now that, and even though like it's not done by any means, we still know that this thing is out there, but they're just, it's getting a lot better. So we're in phase 2 of restrictions being eased. Actually, in England tomorrow, it'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow, because in England tomorrow, the pub's open for the first time.
Okay.
Our pub's open here outside on the 6th, and then indoors on the 15th. And I don't know, I mean, I hate to paint like a wide Scottish brush, but Scottish people love the drink. They love to party. So you know, it's just being cautious, right?
Eric, for my journalistic integrity, since we're kind of interviewing you, we want to paint. This was a very rosy picture of Scotland. I need you to tell me what happened on the video call when I called you last week. What had just happened right before then that I did not know about when I was calling you to set up for this call.
Right. So there was a mass stabbing in a hotel in downtown Glasgow. When XL had called me last week, it was just going on to we were just learning about it. 3 people had died, and it turns out it was an asylum seeker that, you know, this. So again, it's much different here. We don't turn people away. We welcome them in, and we'll do what we can. So when this lockdown happened here, they basically put a lot of these asylum seekers, if they had nowhere else to go, in hotels in the city center. They were giving them they were definitely giving them 3 meals a day, but they weren't, you know, and they got like 6 pounds a day, right? So listen, it was a type of sort of incarceration, right? Like, let's be honest with it.
Of course.
And one of the asylum seekers, he just snapped. He lost it, and he killed 3 people, and then Scottish police shot him, which again, they don't have guns here, so it's like you call when the one set of cops were like, we can't handle this, bring in the other guys, and the other guys came with the guns. I mean, everything here is so much different, guys. The policing is so much different, just everything. So yeah, that happened last week, and instead of blaming anyone, the government is thinking, all right, well, what can we do to make sure this doesn't happen again?
Right. Like actually going towards the source of the problem instead of the actual end result. Is that what you're talking about? Like trying to figure out like the cause? and trying to work.
Yeah.
So this still wound up being a rosy. This still wound up being a rosy thing for Scotland. There you go.
Listen, it's not a rosy place. I mean, it is a nice place, but listen, there are some very impoverished parts of Glasgow where I live.
Sure.
Alcoholism is a huge thing. Drug use is a huge thing. During this, domestic violence has increased a bit.
Sure.
There is racism here. It's not as overt in the States, but nowhere's perfect. But if I were to compare the two, this is, I mean, I don't know, like I have an IKEA kitchen here. These are 2 ovens. What am I going to do with these? Like there's 2 of them here, right? Like it's just it's a very affordable place to live, aside of all that. And just like the politics, like the SNP, which runs Scotland, the Scottish National Party, which ultimately their goal is for Scottish independence. They're not like 100% socialist, but they are definitely along those lines. And the whole of England kind of is as well. Like, and if, like, now maybe we should talk about how the government reacted, like economically, right? You guys all got a $1,200 check. I actually got one too because I still paid taxes in the States last year. But here, rather than just going, let's just hand everyone something that we know is not going to work, the British government essentially is paying most of the company's payroll right now. And again, it doesn't matter the size of company, right? So like, I know with like the relief effort, like,
Can you repeat that one time for us?
Yes,
which part?
I want to be very clear about what's going on, so that people can understand that language. Okay.
I'm so glad I didn't get as high as I got last week. This week.
So the UK government is basically paying 80% of people's salary. So I'm on furlough right now. I have a full-time job. I was put on furlough only about 2.5 weeks ago. Before that, I was working. But my company called me and said, listen, the furlough scheme's been extended. We need to put you on furlough. We're not sure when you'll be coming back. You might not be coming back at all, but for at least the next 4 to 6 weeks, you will be making 80% of your wage. And again, you don't have to do anything. It's all on our side. My wife works for a very large company. I'm not going to name it, but she works for a very multi-million-dollar company. But even they took advantage of it too, right? So it's not like, I heard a lot of like, backlash about the Shake Shacks and some of the other large companies. Listen, if people aren't going to work, they're not spending money, okay? If people don't have jobs, they're not spending money. So the idea is that the government right now is paying the bulk, I would say, of British people's salaries right now, up to 80%.
And
so
where's that money?
Happening right now.
How's that money created for them? Is that just how's that handled? I mean, is that going to hurt? Is that going to be something that you end up paying more in taxes on later? Is that, I mean, how does that work out?
I mean, it definitely seems that way. I don't know enough about how the innards of like the British government and policy works, but it's not important right now. Right, the important part is making sure people are being taken care of, right?
Absolutely.
And that's like something really that needs to be, I think, applauded. Like I think they've done an amazing job, and that was from right as the lockdown was starting here. They said, "Hey, we're going to do this." It was originally going to go through the end of July with the option to extend, so now it's through the end of October. So that's keeping everyone going. So I'm essentially on a 6-week paid holiday. This is my 3rd week of it, and as much as I miss working, it's nice. I get to like be with my kids all day. I have been working from home for the last, I'd say like 3 months. My wife went back to work on Wednesday because she's in the hospitality industry, and as they're getting ready to ramp up to open, she went back to work. So now I'm here with the kids. So I think that's another thing. And also, what else? Like masks just became compulsory here in Scotland, so we have to wear masks starting on the 10th, just in stores. But again, no one's worried about our liberties being taken away. Because it's not. Like living, I think Governor Cuomo said it best. Was like the worst case scenario is death.
Right.
Like for us, like wearing a mask is not a big deal.
Sure. Compared to death, it's probably a reasonable idea. Let me ask you one question.
It seems insanely reasonable. It seems insanely reasonable.
So do
Hey
you?
man,
Yeah.
I want to say when I had the idea to talk to you, I was very excited because I wanted the world to hear these things because people don't know, and now it's just kind of made me sad that I still live here.
Do you do you or your wife work similar jobs that you worked here, or do you work different jobs altogether?
No, same industries. Yeah, my wife is
Okay.
in hospitality. She was working more on like the back in the States. She was food bev director at a very nice hotel in downtown Chicago. I work in creative media. I'm not in news anymore, but I still, create content for a company. So yeah, we're still in the same industry.
I mean, I asked the question just because people look when they look at comparing two countries and they're trying to look at like income versus taxes versus what you get for those taxes and what's my representation for my taxation, right? Like what am I actually getting out of all
Right.
this stuff? And I think people get caught up in a lot of roads that are not important. Like I think the healthcare issue here gets bound up in an increased tax that people are going to pay, and nobody pays attention to the lessening of insurance costs that they're currently paying. Like people miss like what's really important is spendable dollars, right?
Right.
Like at the end of the day,
Yep.
am I going to have as much free money to do the things I want to do as I normally would, or am I going to have less? So I guess I asked that
It's
because
really
I was
hard
wondering
to
if,
tell people that the greater good is going to cost them less because it looks like it's going to cost them more up front, but they don't get in the long
Right.
run having health care for everybody costs everybody less money because
So
less
would you
people
say-
get sick.
So would you say that the money, working in similar industries, would you say the money that you have available to you is similar to what it was here, or are you kind of moving on less and just kind of okay because some things are taken care of, or?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's all like, living in Chicago is a very expensive city to live in, right?
This is very
Even
true.
the neighborhood that we were living in, when we moved back from we lived in Chicago, moved to Dallas, came back to Chicago, and we moved to Logan Square, got priced out of Logan Square, went to like far western Logan Square, and then had we
Sure.
stayed, we probably would have had to move like even farther west, right? Just for that sort of stuff. So the salary here isn't what I was making
Sure.
in the States by any
Right.
means, but my cost of living here is way lower. And the fact that if I have to go to the doctor, even with good insurance, I don't have to pay a $50 copay.
Right.
I would say it's all pretty, I would say it's all pretty relative. Like, again, I'm very, very fortunate and privileged that I didn't have to worry about how my kids were being fed or how I was going to be being fed in
Sure,
Chicago and still be able to have nice things. And same as here, so with me, with my, just because I moved here didn't make me okay, here's all the shit we're going to give you, Eric. I had to apply for it all. And going through the immigration process in the States with my wife, I would actually say was a bit easier than going through the immigration process here.
Okay.
But I'm in now. But one of the things that I did have to do is I had to pay £1,100 into the NHS, right?
Okay.
This is on top of me getting a job where my, taxes from my job pays into the NHS.
Right.
I essentially
You had to pay like a membership fee.
A
Like you
starter
joined the
fee,
health
yeah.
club.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
It was dues, right? It was dues.
You had to
So
pay dues.
it was like 1,100 or 1,200 pounds for 2.5 years, but that's it, right? Imagine what could you break in the States and have it covered for $1,200?
I mean,
So
quite a bit.
when people complain, right? So when people
you
complain,
bring nothing in the States Netflix for $1,200.
exactly,
Yeah,
you
but,
can't even chip a
hey,
tooth
Eric,
for
how
that.
much is dental? How much is dental?
Okay, so dental is not covered in the NHS, but it's really, really cheap. Now, again, the kids get it for free up until I think they're 16 or 18. My wife, so we had we had a son here, so we have one that was born in America and one here. So, but for the first year after Lewis was born, my wife had access to free dental because when a woman has a baby, her body changes and stuff happens to the teeth. So they wanted to make sure she was okay. So you could get your teeth cleaned for $20. Getting sort of routine. It's nothing astronomical, right? It's nothing
Right.
everything is affordable.
Yeah. Well, that's
so
the
yeah,
other
I
part is,
pay.
you can
I
afford to make
essentially.
you can afford to make a little bit less if you're also paying a little bit less for the services you do have to pay for, right? If it's $20 for
Exactly.
a teeth cleaning, but you're making only a slightly less amount than you were making somewhere else, or a little bit less, you're actually still getting out ahead.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
Eric, I have a question. Let's say
Yeah.
a large African American friend came to visit and had like a big wad of cash and wanted to get some dental work done while he was there visiting. Could that happen?
Go to Poland. I'm not kidding, dude. Go to Poland.
Okay.
Yes, go to Poland. Go to one of like Warsaw or Krakow. Dental tourism is a really big thing, actually. So with me having a Polish background, my aunts and uncles, instead of like, Polish people are always getting crowns and root canals and shit. Like they would fly to Poland because it was much cheaper. So, but stop off here, Excel, and visit, and we can go out. Maybe not right now because you'd be able to get here, but you'd have to stay alone, quarantined for 2 weeks before you could go out and do anything.
Hey man, if I get out of America, I don't give a fuck about quarantining in another country.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, I'll stay somewhere for 2 weeks, no problem. Put me up. I'd stay there for sure.
I'm really close to getting on my Harriet Tubman and crawling across the Canada.
Come on, you can do it. I mean, go ahead.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna go off on a tangent, but if you're gonna lead me somewhere, I'd rather be led. Lead me, Bobby.
No, nothing at all, man. I was gonna ask if you had anything going on out there that you want to promote or talk about outside of how much more awesome it is to live there than here. Just
no, not at all.
Nothing at all.
I stopped doing comedy. I just work and take care of my kids and just enjoy the countryside. Like it's a 2-mile bike ride and I'm out in the middle of nowhere. One thing that I did want to say here, and because I've been friends with both of you guys for a long time, and just seeing how you guys have always been vocal about your lives and your blackness, right? And one of one of my best memories of you is we did a show somewhere out in like the middle of nowhere, and you were like headlining. It was like a Marcos Lara or Tony Carr gig, and you were just like. You were headlining, but like
it was Tony.
Yeah, it was like in
the show.
Yeah, it was.
That sounds right.
Marcos, Tony Carr, and I think like it was like one of Carly Ballerini's first shows outside of Chicago, and now she's amazingly funny and stuff. But you were headlining, and how much the crowd loved you, and you were just doing some great crowd work. And you were, there's all just like old rich white people in the audience, and there was a guy, and you were like, you were working with him, and you were like, how many times you've been married? And he went this, and you said the N-word, you went and like the crowd just like blew up, and it's just like it was one of the best memories I've ever had of seeing you perform. And so just like along with those lines, right? It's been so tough for me over the past month to like wake up every morning and see everything happening, not just in Chicago, but certainly Minneapolis, a city I love, and Milwaukee, where I grew up, and just everywhere throughout the nation. And like we're here with you, right? Like we're here with you. It's not just me being American, but the Black Lives Matter is everywhere. It's not just in the States, and we're here. So on my street, maybe tomorrow when I think it's not supposed to rain, I'll go through and I'll snap some pics. But there's Black Lives Matter signs everywhere on my street, everywhere in the city, and there's not a lot of Black people, and so we're here for you. And we've been having satellite protests in Glasgow and London, socially distanced. And here's the thing: the cops allowed it. And of course, then there's the other side, which is like the pro-Union Jack, the sort of like the soccer thugs, like the Cockney, might, whatever, right?
Right.
But the cops, they call them the thugs because they're the ones inciting the violence. So it's just such a flip. So it's really been tough, like over the last month, seeing everything kind of fall apart there. Because as much as I'm happy here, like I got my parents there, I have my friends there, and my daughter is still American, and by extension, my son is half American. So it's tough seeing that, but like we're here for you. And just like I know you guys probably don't like follow the English Premier League, but I don't know if you see what they're doing. They all
I'm a
have
Man
Black Lives
United
Matter
fan, baby.
on their right. Well, that's your own. That's what we could work with that. But you know, like they take a knee for 2 minutes before every kickoff, right?
Wow.
And just imagine if the NFL did that.
Yeah.
So that's really all I kind of wanted to say is that like we're all here with you, and it's like everything that is going on there, it's not being ignored. I wish the people that are ignoring it in the States like didn't, but we're all like you know, we're
There's
here
solidarity.
and you have allies. Yeah, you have allies here, and it's reopened a couple of cases here in Scotland, certainly down in England, that like maybe this needs to be relooked. Like maybe this guy did die from aggressive policing. So that's really all I kind of wanted to say, and I'm not moving back.
What?
All right, man. Hey, I appreciate all
We
your
appreciate
kind
you
words,
being on
man.
here,
Thank
man.
you very much. Thank you for your support.
What's
I love
your,
you, man.
what's your,
You've
what's your
been a good
Twitter
dude.
account? What's your Twitter account? Because you do put out a lot of good information. You do share, as an American in Scotland, you do share a great viewpoint for people that are here.
Yeah.
Where can people see you on Twitter or find you on Instagram so they can see what you got going on?
Yeah, so it's the same handle at both. It's Eric ERIK Edmunds EDMUNDS, and I still don't want to hate to throw out that blue check mark on there on Twitter, but it's there. So and you know it's me.
So it's Eric
You know
Edmunds
it's
on
me. It's
Twitter.
not imposters.
Go
So
follow him there.
but yeah, like yeah, I miss you guys a lot.
I miss you
guys
too,
a lot.
man. I miss you too. We've had some great.
You guys
times,
are
a bunch of fun shows.
more than welcome after you stay for 2 weeks, but just like wear your masks and shit. Stay safe, because like we're really like honestly like it's not you guys, like not you guys, but America as a whole is not looks like it's supposed to be the superpower, and we're all kind of like
It's a clown show right now.
we shouldn't be like that. We shouldn't be like that.
We're a
It's like,
clown show right now, Eric. We're a clown
yeah,
show.
it is. It's really it's embarrassing. So hopefully things will be better in November or after that. I don't know. I'm not very hopeful, but you know, come on out, because I'm not visiting. We got White Claw in here now. I was telling Excel like there's no reason for me to come back, because we have White Claw, and if they had better weed and opened up a Wendy's, there's no fucking way I'm not even gonna go visit anyone. You just need Wendy's and better weed. The food here sucks. They still eat like it's World War II here. It's just like meats and it's just
Just trying to keep it.
Hey,
What's
man,
for dinner
maybe if
tonight?
I open up a soul food joint. I come over there, open up a soul food joint. A soul food joint. That'll blow their fucking
Just-
mind.
Dude,
Right.
bring anything. Like they're trying to do tacos here, but they're doing it with like pickled onion and like duck meat and shit. And it's just just put the pork on the thing and the onion, and that's it. We don't need this fancy stuff.
I wonder why I understand you have another culture and you try to fix it to that culture, but
Yeah.
if I want a specific type of food, I typically like to go to the people that make that food.
Right. Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
I want the original version. I want that
the
version.
way that they want to serve it. You know what I'm saying? Whatever I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like if I went to a Mexican restaurant and the staff was all Asian, I would be sketchy. I'm not saying they can't make burritos. I'm just saying I don't want to try it.
Right. Yeah.
I have, and I don't, and I'm with you.
I'm just saying.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Yeah, don't get a burrito, but we can go get.
Except for Greeks.
Oh, yeah.
If it's Greeks, they can make anything. I don't know what
They
the
can
fuck
make
it is. Greek families have a magic in the kitchen that's amazing. If that's racist, I apologize to Greek people, but Greek people can cook their asses off. They can make anything. I'm saying, go to a Greek restaurant.
Well, come on out for that soul food
They're
restaurant.
stealing somebody else's material, but it's a real shit. If you go to a Greek diner on the East Coast, they have fucking everything on the menu, and it's all delicious.
Yep.
Well, on that note, Eric, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys.
Like I said, follow Eric Edmunds on Twitter and Instagram. He's got great pictures and great viewpoints on stuff you should check out. Thanks for joining us here today, man. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Take it
Thanks
easy.
James for
You got it,
having
man.
me in. Appreciate it. Talk soon, guys. Bye.
You got it, man.
Thanks,
Talk
bro.
to you later.
Take care, bud.
All right, let's see if he jumps out of here, and we'll kind of jump back to it. All right, so we're back to us again. Here we are. Yeah, that's a crazy situation, man. That fact that like you're having a kid, they give you all this cool shit. You make a little less money, but getting your teeth cleaned is $20. You know what I mean? Like that's it's a pretty hot deal right there.
That is crazy. That is so insane.
Like, dude, getting your teeth cleaned for $20 is insanity. Okay, I just want to be clear. I don't know if everybody's ever paid to get their teeth cleaned. It ain't $20. Okay, there's all types of shit going on. Because we had Eric on for a while, it makes it the perfect time to make this little bit of an announcement to some things going on. We get times where we don't get to. Oh, we're back in here. What happened? Eric jumped back in for a second.
He
we get
missed
times
us.
where we. Yeah, he missed us. He wanted to come. He's like, I am coming back to the States.
Surprise!
Surprise! I'm coming. No, we have a lot of times where we get off on tangents where we like to try and keep our pods to like an hour 15. But usually there's so much shit that goes on during the week that there's sometimes an hour and a half to 2 hours worth of information. So considering we're over an hour into this and there's a bunch of stuff we still want to talk about, it's a good time to announce that we are now going to be bringing to you some shorter add-ons that'll come out during the week. We're going to drop some 5-minute truth bombs. We're going to do some times where X and I will be together. There'll be some times where we'll be separate, where we just get a hankering to talk about something in particular. Sometimes that'll be about the case of black people disappearing and the issues with black people being given ketamine, which is more than just the Elijah McClain story that happens all over the country. With other things, it'll be talking about, what's going on with the baseball season, why they're canceling the minor league season this year and not going to have an all-star game. So look for those. We'll promote those like everything else. They may not be live. They may just be videos that we upload, but we'll do some live conversations too to cover some of the overflow stuff. So
we got to talk about the hoes in the NBA bubble. They got to have a special bubble just for the hoes.
But they got to stay in Tampa, bubble. Though. They got to stay. The hoes got to stay in Tampa and they get shuttled out to Orlando. Dude, did you see that shit where all them people at the Orlando airport tested positive? There's like 17 or 20 some odd. There's like 25 players, the ones who are supposed to play in the league, who have tested positive.
Fam, the vice president
playing.
The vice president's travel team is tested positive than a motherfucker. Right. Like, if you traveling anywhere right now, you risk it testing positive. A friend of mine, I didn't have time to curse her out because I was prepping for the show, but a friend of mine just alerted me that she's going to be in Chicago at the end of this month, which I will be very, very happy to see her. However, what the fuck are you doing?
Coming to Chicago for what? What's going on here? Ain't shit going on here that's worth you coming here for.
Because she's incredibly talented, and I'm sure there's some opportunity for her here.
Right.
And I'm going to be happy to see her, and I'm very happy for whatever opportunity she's getting. However, I'm terrified for her to fly because of coronavirus.
Yeah, they've literally some airlines have literally just given up on any of it, right? Like American Airlines is just like, fuck social distancing, fuck telling people to wear masks. We're going to fill the flights, and if you want to come fly with us, it's the most American version of an airline you're going to get because it is people just trying to be free on the airlines.
So are they just filling up flights like normal right now?
Just good luck.
Wow, I did not know that. Because early on when the prices were super, super cheap, it was really. Do you know the only reason why I didn't tempt it with a mask on? The only reason why I didn't tempt it with a mask on was because they charged the exact same prices for first class and business class, and I was like, you know what? That's a dick fucking move. Eat my ass. I'm not gonna play your goddamn game. I didn't do if you had brought the prices down for first class, I would have tricked off some of this government money and spun around the world one time like I was Sean Puffy Combs and I owned the motherfucker. Because it would have been only like 6 other people on the plane. I'd have been down. That would have been worth the risk. I would have got a really upgraded N99 mask. I would have, went in there, terminated out, and been protected. But I'd have had a motherfucking fun time. But no, these niggas were still charging $1,000 for first-class flights to Vegas. Eat me.
Yeah. And also, what were you going to do when you got there? The shit was closed back then.
Just fly back. I just wanted to fly first class on the cheap, nigga. I didn't even want to be in Vegas. I wanted to fly there and land, say I did that shit first class, go back and get some more champagne, and be high on the motherfucking plane first class with 5 other motherfuckers.
Hey, do you think when Trump is gone in January, do you think he's going to get to fly out of somewhere first class? Or do you think he's...
Man, I posted this on my boy Jordan Holmes. Shout out Jordan Holmes.
Jordan Holmes
shout
tweet.
Out Jordan
he had
Holmes.
a tweet, right? Jordan Holmes loves shout outs.
And he had a post talking about what would happen in the months after Trump left office, and I said that this is the first time that the peaceful exchange of power will end with like military police or FBI agents taking the attorney general, the president, and the vice president into custody right after Joe Biden says the oath of office.
I mean, he's only got so many versions of allies, honestly, when it comes to this country. And, you know, there's a lot of people that, I mean, he had 60 million plus votes, but, you know, a lot of that was backed by people like the military. And with the news this week coming out of the whole Afghanistan, Russia bounty shit, and the fact that he had been briefed on that apparently back as early as February, if not earlier in 2019, has not sat well with a lot of Republicans, which is where his base is. He had a bad week again. I mean, he had one bad week the week before. Then he came back and he has the Afghanistan-Russia bounty. He retweets a video with somebody yelling white power. He retweets a video of that St. Louis couple on their porch with their terrible gun control. There's a warrant out for his arrest from Iran from killing somebody. Has there ever been how many presidents you know has had a warrant out for their arrest in another country while they were president?
Nobody.
He's holding
and he got 3 baby mamas. So
and he got 3 baby mamas, got a warrant out for his arrest in another country. He's holding a rally in South Dakota for July 4th, where there's going to be no social distancing.
And he's doing fireworks at a place that they stopped doing fireworks because it's a fucking fire risk.
Right. This is Native American. This was originally Native American land that was taken, I think, from the Lakota. You know.
Bobby, the coldest thing.
Go ahead. No, go for it.
The coldest thing about the Native American land is that they won the case in court. The Supreme Court gave them back their property, and America tried to basically pay them off. And they gave them I can't remember, it was $1 billion, but it's a large chunk of money. And that was years ago. I posted it on my Facebook page at this point. I can't remember exactly the year it was. However, they have not spent a dime of that money. They put that money in a trust because they don't want the fucking money. They want their land back.
Right.
And look, Mount Rushmore is a cool thing to look at. And we have pictures now. We can digitally recreate this shit. So we don't need it anymore. Let them have their fucking land back. For one time, America, live up to a goddamn treaty and do what we're supposed to do by people that we're supposed to do that are our people. These are American.
Right.
Or they're supposed to be.
Right.
And so
before we came here,
do the right fucking thing. And I don't give a shit. If we give them the land back and make it that they gotta keep the fucking thing up there. You don't gotta be able to touch it. You can take a picture away of the motherfucker. It's huge. You can take a picture of it from quite a far bit ways away. You don't have to be right next to it. Drones are real. Get a fucking get a virtual reality drone and look at the motherfucker like that. It's not really that serious. It doesn't mean anything to you. You're not fucking related to Teddy Roosevelt or the other Roosevelt or Abraham Lincoln. And if you are, well, fuck you too, because they did a lot of bad shit too. So,
there's more black people in this country related to George Washington probably than anyone white people.
And Thomas Jefferson for sure.
Thomas Jefferson for sure. You can count on that.
By the way,
so
shout out Sally Hemings, the first person to make it happen with that thing for our people.
So in the midst of all that, Trump's numbers are down. He's being out. He's actually Biden is outpacing him in donations right now. Biden's putting in more money.
It's illegal to wager money, and so I don't want to do that because we have an international audience, and I don't want to do anything that would get anybody in trouble. Right. However, anybody that's peeping us, if you want to send a message, if you have a wager, or if you have a challenge to me this, I will be surprised if he gets more than 55 million votes this time. I would be surprised if he gets more than 55 million votes. I will do whatever the consensus challenge is that I should do. That is within reality of me not going to jail or being naked. I'm not gonna get naked. I'm not also. You know what? Since I'm eliminating shit, let's just get this off top. I'm also not eating feces or anything like that. This isn't a goddamn game show. Do something in reality. I'll do a fucking TikTok dance or something like that.
That should be worth it, honestly.
Shirt. I don't give a fuck. Like, I'll buy a fuzzy shirt in super extra giant and wear it. Something like that. Something within reason, but not.
There you go. Let's end on some lighter stuff before we get out of here. They are bringing back Beavis and Butthead. They're actually going to reboot this. Beavis and Butthead's coming back. They're going to be new episodes, I believe. It's going to be a reimagining, so it's going to be Judge is going to write and produce again. Obviously there aren't really videos anymore, so I'm not really sure. The videos are going to be different, obviously. They're probably going to be making fun of a lot of TikTok videos and YouTube videos and shit like that, the way they used to make fun of music videos. So it'll be fun to see how that kind of breaks down, which I think is pretty cool. Vanilla Ice was planning on holding a concert in Texas. He was very big on the fact that he made this grand quote about the fact that they didn't have coronavirus in the 90s, which I thought was hilarious. Because, which is like, but it's not the 90s anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it's today, Vanilla. He's
in a bubble that it's always dun time for that motherfucker.
So he was all set to do this. He was all set to do this concert.
When I was famous, and when I was famous, that wasn't a thing. So that can't be. That's not part of the genre that we're rocking right now.
Yeah, at my concert, it's going to be the 90s on the inside, which means there's no coronavirus. Still plenty of AIDS, though. This
is pre-David Bowie's lawsuit.
So anyway, they end up having to cancel that concert because now everybody in Texas has coronavirus.
Yeah, good plan. Good idea.
Everybody in Texas has coronavirus, or they did not sell enough Vanilla Ice tickets. I'm not really sure which way that went, but that's not happening. Last thing I want to talk about, none of this may end up mattering. There's an article that came out that they have found a giant black hole that is eating the equivalent of one sun per day as far as it's traveling through the universe. So it is eating the size of our sun every day. And also because
that's the final boss, Bobby.
For sure.
That's the final boss. That's if all this coronavirus and pig swine flu shit don't take us out.
It's
a giant black hole.
It's also the black hole that we're seeing is also from 1.2 billion years ago. So even though it's the biggest black hole that's been weighed since in that early period of the universe, it's also less than 10% of its current age. So who the fuck knows how big it actually is today, or whether we're currently on the other side of it. I don't really know how time works well enough to explain that to you, but we are either going to be dead like soon, or we've already been through it and we're on the other side of it.
What if that's the Big Bang?
I don't know. I'm not really sure. Like all I know is what if it's still coming? What if we're still?
If there's a super massive, that's the Big Bang, and what if it's still coming? Our universe is what, 2 billion years old?
14
billion.
14 billion years old, and that's from 2 billion years old. So
who knows, man? Who knows? But
how old is Earth?
Earth is 4.
Yeah, 4 billion.
4 billion years.
I mean, all I'm saying is that all the shit that we're currently arguing about may not end up mattering because this black hole may end up swallowing us at some point anyway. So take it easy.
So wait a second. What if
just let black people be cool. Let us run some shit. Play the national anthem before the games or whatever. Lift every voice and sing.
Bobby, I just realized something, fam. You know how every disaster movie for a minute, it was like a big disaster movie that was going to end the world. The president was always black. Yeah. Remember that shit? Yeah, that shit was prophetic, man. We about to get like fucking. It's gonna be President Harris, because Joe Biden is gonna clock out a year into it and go play golf somewhere, and that's when the meteorite's gonna come, or the black hole, or whatever. That's when it's gonna be over.
I do want to talk about this real quick before we get out of here. This will be the last thing. The Redskins, the Washington football team. Their owner at one point said he would never change the name of the team. And in the last couple of days, both FedEx, the company that sponsors their stadium, and Nike, the team the organization that sells their jerseys, have requested and also banned them, and Pepsi as well. Nike's taken all their jerseys off the site. Pepsi's threatened them, and now all of a sudden Dan Snyder is considering a name change. I know how I feel about it, but are you excited about the Redskins changing their name? I mean,
look, that's some superficial shit, and I understand people who make the argument about superficial shit and it's not the real shit. But I do believe you gotta cut through superficial shit to get to the real shit. You know what I'm saying? You don't bite into a fucking orange, man. You got to get through that motherfucking skin to get to the juicy. So you peel back all the superficial shit and you get rid of all the worshiping the bullshit that's not real, and we get to where we are now, and then we start changing, because there'll be generations of people not growing up saying racist shit and cheering for racist shit and doing shit like the gator bait chop and all that shit. There won't be people doing that because they won't know about it because we stopped it.
the only problem I have with this situation is what it took to get Dan Snyder to actually do something. And that is, he wasn't willing to respond to anybody else except for money, right? FedEx and Pepsi and Nike said, we have a problem with this. And then he was like, okay, I guess. I wish I could remember
the DJ who it was, but the DJ on 670 The Score today said exactly what you said. He said, and that's when Dan Snyder got woke. Yeah, oh my God, I was dying in my car. I heard that, man.
That's exactly true, man. That's exactly true. So, I mean, and I agree. Take it. I mean, Dan Snyder's not going to get him to go arrest the cops that murdered Breonna Taylor. So, like, if all we can get him to do is change it to a football team name, I'll take it. I'd love it if he hired some more.
We get now the Cleveland Indians got to be shaking in their motherfucking boots. We can switch that whole shit up.
Yeah.
And we're gonna take all that shit away.
Blackhawks. Hey man, where can they find you online? Where's your Twitter? Where's your Instagram? How can they find you?
I'm at XL Comedy online on Twitter, on Facebook, and on IG. You can also check out XL Comedy Show is the webpage, and that's it. That's what's up.
All right, you can find me at Mocha_Jesus on Twitter and Instagram. You can find the New OGs at New OGs Pod at Twitter and Instagram. Excuse me. You can find People of Comedy at People of Comedy on Instagram, People of Comedy Network, I think, on Twitter, or vice versa.
Vice versa.
Try one, try the other way. Try it the other way around. Catch us next week. We'll be back here again. Catch us midweek. We'll have some other cool videos and stuff for you. That's it for us. We're out of here. That's what's up.
Like and subscribe and get a live shout out. That's the new offer. Check it out.
So many doubted, fuck them all. Now they gon' have to pay our tickets, sell our shows before we hit the road. They said we couldn't do it.
Go ahead.